Department, we have about 150 to 200 office buildings in LA. So that's a lot of members, and part of what we do is we're a nonprofit, but we provide service to our members. So I'm here partly because I need to gain that information, understand where you all are going, so I can assist my members.
Firefighters will gather input on such topics as improving technology and training and communicating better with residents. The information will be used to come up with action ideas and a 5-year strategic plan for the LA Fire Department.
Instead of just sort of going at the normal problem, let's fix this or let's repair that, what we look at are mobilizing people's ideas through looking at their strengths. How are we doing that? What's helping us do it? And then we use that as a foundation to say, okay, now what are the opportunities to do better?
The fire department plans to hold 3 more of these sessions. But for now, it's time to go out and do what firefighters do best: fight more fires and save lives. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The LA Fire Department's 5-year strategic plan will be presented to the Fire Commission for approval in June. A garment manufacturer known for its commitment to fair wages and for its trendy clothes celebrates its 15th anniversary of being headquartered here in Los Angeles.
Hoodies, miniskirts, trendy tees. American Apparel supplies the uniforms of many hipsters. But what shoppers may not know is that American Apparel is not manufactured overseas, but right here in Los Angeles.
We're 6,000 employees in the Los Angeles area and 2 million square feet, and we're the largest apparel manufacturer in North America, if not the Western Hemisphere.
But 15 years ago, it was a struggle.
15 years ago, I think this company started with a cell phone, a rental car, and a dream from a man named Dov Charney.
But the iconic brand's success today has LA City leaders celebrating with the apparel company its 15th year headquartered in downtown Los Angeles.
We have so many old buildings in LA as well, and they've adaptively reused this building to continue to provide jobs in the 21st century.
But American Apparel didn't obtain its success by cutting employee wages and benefits. In fact, it's a company that's committed to fair wages and low-cost health benefits for its workers. There are even on-site medical clinics.
Anyone that comes in to see the clinic on site, their copayment is waived. In addition, our health care plan offers benefits for hospitalization, doctor visits. There is no copayment if you're hospitalized.
It was places like American Apparel, it is companies like American Apparel who have a consciousness for who their workers are, to ensure they have safe working conditions, to ensure they have health benefits, to ensure they have a livable wage that has allowed young immigrants in this country to go on, pursue, and be part of the American dream.
A company with a conscience, just the kind of company the City of Angels is proud to count among the many businesses that call LA home.
While American Apparel has been in the city for 15 years, several new businesses are just moving in, and a popular street for this business boom has been Broadway Avenue downtown. Anna Marcos takes us to the grand opening of 2 of many new restaurants, which promise to become local favorites.
2, 1. Want a free party? There's plenty of ribbon-cutting parties to crash up and down Broadway Avenue in downtown L.A. as more and more new eateries open up shop. It's all part of Councilmember Jose Huizar's 10-year plan to revitalize Broadway. New restaurants, bars, shops, and soon even a future hotel are moving into the historic buildings.
Many of you know that this was once the heart of the city. This is where everyone came to do their shopping, to get entertainment, and we are now bringing it back to its gloried past. We are building a community, we are supporting business and jobs, and we're getting back Broadway to its beautiful historic past.
Among the newest kids on the block, the LA Brewing Company and Umamikatessen, a branch of the now famous Umami Burger chain. 6 different umami kitchens under one roof will prepare everything from the popular umami burger to deli and pork specialties. There's even a full donut menu, as well as specialty drinks, cocktails, and coffees.
This is Broadway. This is the heart of downtown. We're in the middle of everywhere.
The LA Brewing Company is not to be outdone. It's got 100 beers on tap and everything from burgers and sliders to Kansas City, New York steak.
They are already a local favorite. It's become one of my local favorites, by the way. And it has increased activity on the street both day and night, like I mentioned, which is good for Broadway, it's good for downtown, and it's good for the city of Los Angeles.
We are a very strong community here. We have a lot of pride, and we've been pushing to create a downtown after 5 p.m. and it's establishments like this that get us really excited.
I'm very excited to try out the beers and the food, so we'll have to see. I don't know. I might be a regular here.
And in a couple of years, you'll be able to go bar hopping and window shopping in style when the olden day streetcar returns to Broadway Avenue in 2014. Get in line. It could be standing room only. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Two Boots Pizza has also moved to the block. Tarina Tarantino, a world-famous jewelry designer, plans to move her headquarters to Broadway in the fall, and the Ross Dress for Less department store just bought a building on Broadway. The city is once again celebrating its diversity and the diversity of its Asian American community by honoring 3 individuals who are giving back and making a difference. Rich Samuels introduces us to the honorees.
Led by a cross-cultural dance group, the mayor accompanied this year's honorees into council chambers.
This history is the history of triumph, the triumph of openness and opportunity over bigotry and bias. During this month, we recognize how far we've truly come.
K.W. Lee received the Spirit of Los Angeles Award. Born in what is now known as North Korea, he arrived in the United States as a young man. He's a socially conscious investigative journalist with a career stretching back over a half-century.
It is important that today's generation in the digital world desperately need and deserves their own history of their own people.
Attorney Jyoti Nanda received the Dream of Los Angeles Award. She is an educator in public interest law, focusing on such issues as social justice, civil rights, and juvenile justice.
I think it's important for the generations and the kids to see that just because you came from a different place doesn't mean that you can't contribute from your background in meaningful ways, and that it's really a celebration of different cultures, which really, after all, is Los Angeles.
The Hope of Los Angeles Award was presented to Michelle Kwan, the most decorated figure skater in U.S. history. Off the ice, she's been active in leadership training, the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition, and recently received a master's degree in international relations at Tufts University.
It's an honor to be here, celebrating Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and to be receiving the award, the Hope Award of Los Angeles. My parents immigrated to the United States in the early 20s, and they came here with one thing, and that's hope.
The City Hall celebration was just the beginning. There are special Heritage Month programs happening throughout the city. This is Rich Samuels for LA This Week.
And a trailblazer and activist in the Japanese American community receives recognition as well. Brush clearance season is here, and a local high school places second in a national competition. These stories and more in City Beat.
Councilmember Richard Alarcon honored Rose Ichi in City Council chambers for being a trailblazer for the Japanese American community. At 3 years old, Ochi was relocated to an internment camp in Arkansas during World War II. She grew up to become a lawyer and a champion for the poor, serving the city of Los Angeles and then the country.
In 1993, Rose left the city of Los Angeles to work for the Clinton administration, and she eventually became the first Asian American woman to ever serve at the Assistant Attorney General level.
The rewards are there in the work, whether it was in the White House or at the Department of Justice. Everything I learned that permitted me to be successful, I learned here in City Hall.
Ochi has also been at the forefront of the fight for redress and reparations for those who were interned during World War II. She's most currently the founding director of the California Forensic Science Institute at the LA Regional Crime Laboratory. Up, up, and away. Councilman Dennis Zine and members of the West Hills Neighborhood Council got a lift up to the top of a light pole in West Hills, where they unveiled one of 5 new decorative community signs for West Hills. Included in the community medallion design are iconic symbols of the San Fernando Valley experience, such as the mountains, orange groves, and mission-style architecture.
This is important to us because we've worked a long time for it, almost 10 years, to get these signs designed, manufactured, and put up on the streets of West Hills.
Despite obstacles, the sign can now finally be seen at various entry points into West Hills. North Hollywood High School wins second place at the 22nd Annual U.S. Department of Energy National Science Bowl competition in Washington, D.C. You're looking at footage from their L.A. Department of Water and Power Science Bowl win back in February. After 2 days of intense competition, Lexington High School from Massachusetts took first place, with North Hollywood taking second place. LADWP General Manager Ron Nichols praised the team for representing our city and LADWP well. If your home is among those identified within the very high fire hazard severity zones, the Los Angeles Fire Department is reminding you to clear the brush to comply with brush clearance requirements. The LAFD began inspecting homes on May 1st. If they find that a property is out of compliance, the property owner could receive a citation. For details on what the brush clearance requirements are, go to lafd.org.
Thanks to a group of community leaders and students, the city of Pacoima will now have a new park to enjoy this fall. Rasha Goel reports.
The Pacoima community recently celebrated the groundbreaking of the new Fox and Laurel Canyon Park, a new park and garden that will be located at the corner of Fox Street and Laurel Canyon Boulevard across from San Fernando High School.
This is going to be a wonderful place for learning, for being at peace with the world, for understanding, for improving our community.
It's a project, officials say, that received a great push from San Fernando High School students.
The school has a reputation of having gangsters and much violence. The families are going to come together, and it's just like a lot of friendships are going to be involved here, rather than having fights and everything, and making just the community look nicer.
This plot will be transformed into an area that contains 2 playgrounds, a picnic area, a walking path, a performance area, and a 6-bed community garden.
We're going to have gardens to teach kids, the science club kids, and a lot of the kids at San Fernando High School, how to grow organically.
I'd like for my students to come here on a weekly basis, you know, to learn lessons, to practice what we preach.
With the help of the nonprofit organization Los Angeles Neighborhood Land Trust, this park is among 20 parks being built throughout the city.
This is an investment now in you, the community. This is not one park. This is going to be a ring of parks throughout the city. You kids, you're part of history.
Councilmember Richard Alarcon also proposed changing the name of the park to Tiger Park in honor of San Fernando High School's mascot. The park is anticipated to open in August later this year. From Pacoima, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Plans also include installing a new sidewalk, 2 streetlights, and a solar-powered light at the bus stop. And a local park was where some students from the city's after-school enrichment program went for a recent field trip. It was there that the program's young participants spent a Saturday having fun and learning all about teamwork.
We've got fun events like obstacle course. We've got fun events like Simon Says. We've got water balloon toss. Ooh.
100 kids from 3 LA Unified schools spent a Saturday playing games and making friends at Cheviot Hills Park. Their chaperones, LA's best friends, the young professionals who fundraise on behalf of the LA's Best after-school enrichment program.
It's just an interesting opportunity for them to kind of get out of school and out of their neighborhoods and get out into the park for a day and kind of interact with some people who are a little bit older than them and maybe from different parts of the city than they're from.
At this special LA's Best outing at the park, kids received gift bags, played games like relay races and obstacle courses where teamwork was the name of the game, and ate lunch catered by Fatburger. But on a normal weekday, kids say they have fun as well when they attend the LA's Best program after school.
We do homework, have snack, and play a little bit.
And at LA's Best, kids also learn life lessons.
To be safe, respectful, and be responsible. LA's Best is a fun place and a good place to be safe.
Parents say they're grateful to the program on many levels.
LA's Best is great. It's the best thing, that happened to me. I really appreciate it because they do help me a lot. The after school, I don't have to pay somebody. and it's great. They help him with the homework. They help my son a lot because he wasn't reading, and they've helped him a lot.
From the classroom to the playground, it's a program that's ensuring kids not only get exposed to books, but to the world around them.
LA's Best serves 28,000 kids. And in this week's list of things to do, a children's film festival downtown, a classic car show in the Valley, and helping the less fortunate right from your doorstep.
You still have time to catch the annual Red Cat International Children's Film Festival on its last weekend on Saturday and Sunday, May 12th and 13th. Red Cat stands for Roy and Edna Disney CalArts Theater. It's located downtown at 631 West 2nd Street. The festival, featuring animated as well as live action fare for moviegoers of all ages, showcases work from around the globe, including Brazil, Colombia, Iran, and Taiwan. For a list of movies playing at the festival, go to redcat.org. And check out the hot rods, motorcycles, race cars, classics, and other rare and beautiful vehicles at the Shepherd of the Hills Car Show on Saturday, May 12th in Porter Ranch from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The event is a fundraiser to support a project to build water wells in a village in Africa. There will also be live music, food trucks, and lots of fun activities. The Shepherd of the Hills Church is located at 19700 Rinaldi Street, Porter Ranch. Admission is free. Email carshow@theshepherd.org for details. Feeling like doing some good? Join your letter carriers in stamping out hunger by leaving non-perishable food items outside by your mailbox on Saturday, May 12th. Your Postal Service letter carrier will collect them and deliver them to local food banks as part of the National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger National Food Drive. Detailed information can be found at helpstampouhunger.com. Councilmember Mitchell Englander's office is also helping in the effort by asking those in his district interested in helping local families to email melody.jaramello@lacity.org. And remember, you can find this information on our Facebook page. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do.
The music of Mexico took center stage at a big celebration in Boyle Heights. No, we're not talking about Cinco de Mayo. Anita Bennett takes us to the Mariachi Festival.
It was a day of music and fun at the 21st Annual Mariachi Festival held at Mariachi Plaza in Boyle Heights.
It's a great way to spend the Sunday afternoon with the family and enjoy the music. And now that we have the Boyle Heights Farmers Market here, they're coming out and we've integrated both together. So it's a beautiful day for mariachi.
The event drew rave reviews from area residents.
Boyle Heights is a community of a lot of, Mexican families, Mexican first generation and newly immigrated families. So just incorporating the culture and incorporating the love that a lot of us have for the mariachi music, I think is just an awesome thing.
While some people enjoyed the music from their seats, others decided to get up and dance. For the little ones, there was even a gifting booth.
What we're doing is we're giving away free books to all children, and in return, all we're asking for them is to color a book of blue, which is our character behind me, for City National Bank, and we really invest in the communities and really believe in doing that.
In all, about a half dozen bands took the stage for this year's festival. I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
The Mariachi Festival was sponsored by the city's Department of Cultural Affairs, the MTA, and Council District 14. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Cuando llegan los mariachis, hasta pierdo la conciencia al ver este traje charro con su elegancia y
I am Los Angeles City Attorney Carmen Trutanich. I am here to talk about the problem of counterfeiting and piracy. It goes beyond the manufacture and sale of cheap, unauthorized goods. Such crimes impact legitimate businesses, employment, and even public safety. The money a consumer pays for a counterfeit or pirated item may very well be financing even more serious criminal activity, like gang crime. I'm doing everything in my power to protect the citizens of Los Angeles, but I also need your help. Please do not purchase these items. Together, we will combat these illegal practices and make Los Angeles a better and safer city. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Craig Irwin in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Trenton Irwin, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
So, actually, I can make an announcement right now while we're waiting that there's a sweater, vest, with important things in the pockets. It looks like it might be for a woman. Okay, you're not a woman, so it's got ladies' gloves in the pocket. Pamela will have it up front here. Raise your hand. Okay. What? Okay. And then when we're done this morning, we will all 120 of us walk out to the Spring Street steps and take a nice picture.
Councilmember, I just let you know we have a public safety committee that's finishing. Got 2 more members coming down. It's up to you.
Okay. Well, why don't we start? Because you have an appreciation luncheon. So, Mr. Superintendent and all of the principals. Mr. Superintendent, please join me on all of the principals. Come on, principals, come on up. So that'll take a few minutes. That's the whole room just got up.
All right.
Thank you for having us. Absolutely. Come on up. This is exciting.
These are all the principals.
Yes, all the principals. Wait, that's probably most of the room, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's really nice to be able to welcome representatives, not only the superintendent of the schools, but representatives of over 120 public schools from the Los Angeles Unified School Districts. These schools represent areas from all over Los Angeles, and these schools have excelled in reaching their statewide academic performance index goal of 800. So let's give them big applause.
All right. Congratulations.
The purpose of the Academic Performance Index is to measure the year-over-year growth in academic performance for California schools. The API summarizes a school's standardized test scores into a single number, which ranges from 200 to 1,000. The statewide API goal is 800 for all schools. Higher numbers generally indicate better performance on tests. Many have not reached the goal of 800, but many have surpassed it. This is quite an accomplishment and something that we should all honor and celebrate as a city. So it is my honor to have all the superintendent, the principals, the teachers, the administrators, and the parents and the students, and thank them all for their very, very hard work in demonstrating the dedication necessary to create and sustain places of learning. It's a team effort, and this proves that when everybody, all stakeholders, participate, great strides and great things can be accomplished. It is because of their commitment to the students and future generations that the City of Los Angeles is moving forward and working towards creating a better educational environment for everyone's family across the city. And when you look at the depth and breadth of the schools on the list, I think you will agree. I'm extremely proud of everyone, and particularly proud of the schools from the 9th District. And I think we can recognize the importance of education to everyone's child. So thanks to everyone here. And now I would like to welcome our superintendent, Dr. John Daisy, and Robert Bravo, Senior Coordinator, Charter Schools Division, to say a few words about this tremendous accomplishment. And then afterwards, after everyone's done giving them their accolades, then we will go outside on the Spring Street steps and take a group photo. Superintendent.
President. So, President Weston and distinguished members of the Council, thank you for opening your chambers for the recognition. In particular, Councilwoman Perry, I'm much appreciative of you taking time to recognize what is indeed a very significant accomplishment. The comments I want to make are about the amazing leadership in both teaching and our principals and our parent support for having this to happen. You know LAUSD, and you know that more than 3 out of 4 youth live in circumstances of poverty, and more than 2/3 of our youth do not speak English as their first language. And when you see behind me the fact that in the last 5 years we have doubled the number of schools reaching 800 or more. What can never be said is that poverty is destiny or language facility is proficiency. Every single student is achieving at high levels, and these schools are the lighthouses for LAUSD. Having doubled the number and continuing that direction, I am profoundly grateful because these schools live our motto that all students will graduate college workforce ready. And it takes a tremendous amount of work as a team to bring those rights for students. So I'm both humbled and incredibly proud. So thank you very much for a recognition well deserved.
Yes, thank you. Robert Bravo.
On behalf of the Los Angeles Unified School District Charter School Division, I want to thank Councilwoman Perry and all of the council for the recognition of these schools and for the strong partnership between the city and the district. LAUSD, under Superintendent Daisy, is committed to offering and is proud of its diverse portfolio of school choices so that the needs of different students and families can be met. This portfolio of school choice includes approximately 200 charter schools with 92,000 students attending them. And those charters that are here today recognize those that have an especially profound and positive impact on the lives of students and on the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We do have a few members on the queue. Councilor Labange.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Ms. Perry. Thank you for bringing these distinguished champions of our city who every day do what really has to be done, engage young people so they one day will be able to do something that they love to do in a successful role in life. And the challenges that Los Angeles has been under have been challenges, but you have not walked away from it. And Superintendent, it's nice to see you here. I don't understand your accent, but I know you're from somewhere. We welcome everybody. But Mr. Deasy, Dr. Deasy, thank you. I just know it takes a start, and you're doing it. And I know many of the principals in my district that we know, my deputies know. I hope you know your deputies and your council people, especially your deputies, because they'll help a lot in the neighborhoods that do the issues that help you just focus in the classroom. And I would imagine if you did a DNA test right here on every one of your students, they also link to our public library system. They also link to our public park system and some of our other facilities. Together, that's the village that makes it up. So as a proud graduate of Ivanhoe Elementary, 1965, I think it was. Hail, hail. Great job, everybody. Good job.
Thank you, Councilor Labange. Our next speaker is Councilor Buscaino. Councilor Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Perry, for really celebrating the successes of our public schools. Dr. Daisy, thank you so much for your continued leadership. I also want to take a minute to also recognize Dr. Vladovic, our school board member representing the Harbor area. And it's great to see Marcia Reed in the 186th Street School. How about them Owls? Yes, in my district, an amazing school. And I'm a proud product of the public school system. I went to Leland Street Elementary School, Dana Middle School, San Pedro High School. My best friend, my wife, is an LA Unified school teacher now of 15 years. My teachers work for the LA Unified school district as well. And I've always said what impacts us on campus affects society off campus. I want to thank all the teachers here, the administrators, the school district, for celebrating the fine work and the accomplishments of each and every one of your schools. And also, I want to recognize our charter school, the Port of Los Angeles Charter School, where two of my nephews attend. In fact, Sammy's graduating this June and was just accepted to UC Santa Cruz. So you're all doing fine work. We love you. God bless you. And thank you on behalf of my district in this great city. Thank you.
Councilmember Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. The reason we were delayed is we were in Public Safety Committee, so Ms. Perry, congratulations for bringing these folks forward. I just want to Superintendent Daisy, I serve on the United States Army Advisory Board, and there's many students in the school district want to go to college, and because of economic situations, they don't have that opportunity. Through the ROTC program, many of the schools are involved in the ROTC program. They can get a free college education through the operation of the United States, whether it's Air Force, Navy, Army. I just wanted to mention that because we're always trying to get access to the schools. Some of the principals are supportive, others aren't, but it gives those students an opportunity and a recourse, and if they want to go and they have that academic desire, get in that program. They want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a superintendent, they will get trained for that particular discipline. So I just want to give a pitch on behalf of the ROTC program that the schools that have it and your students graduate, go into the discipline. At SC, they're graduating today at SC. Some of those started with the ROTC program and got the free ride. So congratulations. I know you're doing well. I hear you on KNX almost all the time. I think they got a direct line to you explaining this, explaining that. But the fact is you got a huge, huge task. And we like to help and congratulate every time we can. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Councilmember Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, most of what I could say has already been said. What I just want to acknowledge is that LA Unified School District often gets a lot of criticism, and nobody really looks at the fact that there are what could be barriers in language, in poverty, and in incredibly low resources that the state has provided in recent years, and yet no one's let that be a barrier. And in fact, you're accomplishing incredible things under almost impossible circumstances. So it's great that we're actually able to acknowledge the wonderful things that are going on. And I thank you, Councilmember Perry, for giving us this opportunity. And just like to say, keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councilor Koretz. Councilor Labange.
I just want to say, Mr. Joe Buscaino gave such a great speech. I had to say something again. My mother was was a teacher at Rowan Avenue Elementary. She's in heaven now, Joe, but I wanted to say when you covered your whole family and your career in public schools, I had to stand up in memory of all those who taught, and I do remember all my teachers as a child, which is so important. So it's just a special role. And in our country now, there's a discussion. You're part of the solution. And also, is anybody from Tom Bradley School here today? Because Tom Bradley has a tower. It's the only school in the city, Mr. Superintendent, that has a tower named after its school. The Tom Bradley Tower. You could visit that as well. And also, I want to give a shout out to Beyond the Bell, which is your program. And Beyond the Bell is such a great program, and all those who do it. Thank you very much. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, and I just want to take a moment and thank Councilor Perry for bringing principals forward.
Thank you.
We always hear the negative. We rarely get to praise you and the principals and the school system for all the good things you do. I say the unsung heroes are the ones that are the quietest but the most effective. So thank you, Superintendent Daisy and Mr. Bravo, for your hard work. And anybody there from Council District 1, I know I have a Blue Ribbon School charter in my district. But congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to head that way. We're going to go outside the Spring Street side. Head that way.
As the room clears, we do have our next presentation. That would be Councilmember Herb Wesson.
Mr. President, here, let's bring Duke here.
Yes, sir.
I should have had my presentation first when I had all these customers.
That's true. Well, maybe you can share as much as you can now before they leave.
Anyway, before you leave, we have a dog for sale.
Does anybody there like to have a puppy? Or a doggy?
Yeah. Anyway, this is my favorite Friday. It's Pet Adoption Friday. I have before you today Duke. Duke is 7 months old. He's a what is this? A low chin mix, whatever that is. Again, 7 months old. He has all his shots, and he's looking for a home and ready to go home with you today. So if there's anybody out there looking for a companion animal, please come down to the council chambers or give us a call and take Duke home. Since we've been doing this program 6 years, we have a 100% dog adoption rate. So I am counting on the people at City Hall, the people watching on Channel 35, to keep our 100% adoption rate alive. And speaking of alive, our shelter does the best that they can, but there's no way without your help that we can get every dog adopted. And when we don't get a dog adopted, they have to put the dog to sleep. Can you imagine? Look at his face, that they might have to put him to sleep. So when you bring one of these animals into your home, you are saving their lives. And trust me, if you ever searched for unconditional love, this is where you will find it. So what we're going to do, Arlene, right? Yes. Arlene is here from Animal Services. I'm going to have Arlene stay in the back. If you want to look at Duke, come in the back, pet him, and take him home. We want you to take Duke home today. So with that said, Mr. President, I think I've gotten just about every member on the council to get a dog. Those of you that don't have a dog, I'm going to introduce legislation next week demanding that each one of you get a dog. So with that said, please, somebody call, come down. Okay. Let's send Duke home happy. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Weston. And if there's any principal out there that would like a companion to help them in their school efforts, we have a beautiful dog for you. We do have Councilor Englander and Councilor Koretz.
Yeah, Mr. Weston, I just wanted to say I find all my unconditional love right here around the horseshoe. And so I wanted to recognize that. Yeah, see, there we go. It's Hug a Councilman Day. And I have 3 dogs, so I'm not sure where right now the motion is to expand that to 5 is sitting in committee. But I have 3 right now, licensed dogs. And this is one I would bring home right there. Although I would be outside the ordinance and not allowed to do that. I won't break the law, but I do challenge Mr. Garcetti to bring another dog home.
I feel another hug coming on. Go ahead.
Mr. City Attorney, would it be out of order to amend the ordinance today?
Today.
To allow that to be 4 or 5? It would be out of order? Okay. That's on your conscience.
Okay. Councilman Koretz.
I'll take that as a second from Mr. Englander, so I move that item. I guess not. Actually, I intended this to be a shout out to a room full of principals, but I guess most of them are gone. But for those of you that are still here, this is a wonderful dog. This is adorable, and you should bring him home.
His name is Duke.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. And I'm so happy that Mitch Englander has unconditional love around this horseshoe.
All right, folks. All right. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hallercon, Biscayne, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Wesson. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, we have approval of the minutes. Councilmember Englander moves. Councilmember Garcetti seconds. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Okay, Councilmember Labange moves. And Councilmember Parks seconds. Next item.
Mr. President, items 1 through 16 are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports for items 5 and 6 have been submitted and distributed for council's consideration.
Okay. Members, any special? Any specials, members? Councilmember?
Number 5, just for a tweak.
Number 5? Any other specials?
8.
That was item number 8.
Parks.
So we have items 5 and 8, specials. Any other specials? Okay. Seeing no other specials, let's open the roll. Oh, Councilmember Parks.
Ms. Perry.
Number 9 from Councilmember Perry. So there's a reason for a delayed reaction. Okay, seeing we have no more specials on the floor. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, what's next?
Items 17 through 20 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Without objection, those items are before us. Mr. Clerk, do we have any cards on any of the items?
Yes, sir, we do. We have cards on 18, 19, and 20.
Okay. Members, any specials? Councilmember?
On 19, there's a substitute correction. Thank you.
Substitute correction, all right. Any other specials, colleagues? Okay. Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next.
On the continuation agenda, item 21 is an item for which a public hearing has been held.
Would any member like to call it special? Let's open the roll, close the roll. Okay, item 21. So we'll call item 21 special. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tally the vote.
11 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, what's next? Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations, items called special, or general public for general comment for items not on council's agenda.
Okay. So we do have 2 presentations that we've already observed. Council District 13, are you ready for your special presentation? Councilman Garcetti? We're not ready? Okay, we do have District 5. That was canceled. And Council District 7. Are we ready? Okay, so let's move into general public comment. Okay, on general public comment, we have Antonia Ramirez. Dr. Tom Williams. Okay.
You did call us up, right?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Good morning.
One moment, please. They already started. This is a matter of principle. President Barack Obama and the Department of Justice, Eric Holder, have failed miserably in keeping law-abiding citizens and military veterans safe here in America. They have approved millions of criminal illegal aliens and Latino Chango gangbangers for amnesty and asylum. Instead of deporting these homicidal maniacs and diabolical deviants, they have granted them amnesty and asylum status. This will surely backlash against them and their children indefinitely. Furthermore, we ask that all Americans sanction and incarcerate the following businesses and agencies for employing these criminal illegal aliens: all malls, Macy's, Target, Nordstrom's, Bloomingdale's, JCPenney's, CVS, Walgreens, Home Depot, Walmart, Ralph's, Vons, Food for Less, Chevron gas stations, Metro trains and buses, LA Dot buses, the ACLU, Fair Housing Council, Legal Aid, Human Relations Commission, HUD, MALDEF, all religious and legal immigrants' rights groups, the Department of Social Services, the Department of Social Security, all construction company, telecommunication companies, i.e. Time Warner Cable, all security company outfits, all hotels and motels, all restaurants, all hospitals, all fast food chains, McDonald's, El Pollo Loco, Jack in a Box, Starbucks, Taco Bell, Carl's Jr., Denny's and IHOP, all schools, all airports, all movie theaters, process servers, all law enforcement agencies, including LAPD and Sheriff's Department. For if the FBI had done its job, 99.9% of these anchor babies from criminal illegal aliens would not be employed in our law enforcement agencies. And they provide, again, a lack of safer socioeconomic environment. Never mind that all these criminal illegal aliens violate your space, your personal property, and your person, like the one behind us, the buffoon. These uncivilized, uncouth, and unrefined criminal deviants
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dr. Tom Williams. Let's take order, please, in the chamber. Thank you.
Good morning. Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, proud member of our board. Yes, we kind of try to lead by example, but we are not led by example. That is, how many people, how many stakeholders do you have versus how many stakeholders do neighborhood councils have? City Watch said, well, we need more stakeholders. We agreed. But we have problems. Yes, we are, just the other night, 12 people spent 50 volunteer hours working on bylaws. That's terrible. However, they chose to come out free, no cost to the city, to try to help our neighborhood council board. What happened? Well, we didn't get them passed. We didn't get them fixed. We have a lot of problems because we get things submitted to us by Dunn, which says no group shall have a majority of the board seats in a neighborhood council. No group. Arbitrary, unconstitutional, vague, undefined, and, well, a group could be men and women. Well, so if there's a majority of men, majority of women, we got a problem. So we have tried. We are still trying. A lot of people, that is 95 neighborhood councils times probably about 20 board members meet each month or more free. It is your best cost-effective, full cost recovery effort that we can do for our neighbors. And I am proud to be on the board. Yeah, we're not perfect, but we're the only ones in the United States that have a neighborhood council.
Thank you. Dow House Dude. And members, when you're ready with the remaining presentations, please inform the President's chair.
I actually just have a few questions, but I've been called an illegal alien by somebody that has a strong Spanish accent. What's wrong with that lady? Anyway, I used to be a teacher in LA Unified till I got smart. You know? We just go along with the program, We tell the kids, don't eat sugar, it's bad for your teeth. And guess what? We're obligated to have a candy sale at the end of the school day. Hello? You know, just the same as I always mention sidewalk cafes. They're all drinking in public, but we call it a sidewalk cafe. You know, if a kid passes by, that guy's drinking in public. The kid is logical, you see? Anyway, the questions I have for City Council is, how can we implement the ideas that I have given you in the book, The United World of Free and Clear, I also gave you an outline of the formation of a non-profit organization to help us implement a program. If we provide housing for everyone, all the houses will pay taxes. That is good for City Hall. City Hall's always looking for money in many illegal ways. Why don't you look for money in legal ways? Nobody has ever voted for a parking restriction. Why do we get all those parking tickets? Come on, you are acting illegally. Please help me, and let's create a system where everybody has a home and everybody pays property taxes. It's good for city council, etc.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Garcetti for a presentation, and then we will continue with public comments. Mr. Garcetti?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I'm glad today to be able to raise awareness of a very important disease in our community, and to commemorate that today, this month of May, that we are recognizing here in Council, National Lupus Awareness Month. And I stand here today to honor Lupus LA, who are celebrating 12 years of service here to the Los Angeles region. Standing with me is Patty Koltno, who is the Executive Director of Lupus LA. She's recently taken the helm but has a long relationship with the organization. And Elise Reyes, come on up, Elise, the Patient Services Director. You guys can all come up, come on. Patty Koltno and Elise are two of our four guests here, all of whom are doing the work to ensure that we know and we raise awareness about lupus. The name lupus derives from the Latin word for wolf because of this disease stealth and cunning in masking itself as many other diseases. If you've ever watched the television show House, you inevitably see the doctors, when unable to understand a perplexing illness, they ask if it's lupus. Lupus is a life-threatening autoimmune disease, and the devastating effects include fevers, fatigue, loss of kidney, liver, and heart function. And the illness strikes women more than men and is more likely among people of color. Tens of thousands of Southern Californians are afflicted, with 1.5 million people afflicted nationwide. One of those persons is my policy director, Sarah Dussault, who is with us as well today, who has struggled with lupus and lived with it since she was a child. And I've seen firsthand how this disease can strike from nowhere and affect not just an individual, but the entire family, friends, and co-workers. And thank you, Sarah, for your courage and for your raising awareness as well. I remember as a child, my grandmother's best friend had lupus at a time when it was even less understood. I remember a dear friend of mine here who also in Los Angeles lives with lupus, and as we know, one day you feel great and fine, the next day, and you don't know for how long, you can feel a devastating collection of symptoms. I believe that Los Angeles is a city when we see people hurting and in need of a cure, we respond. And so through Lupus Awareness Month and the work of Lupus LA, I believe that the response will only increase until we raise enough resources, do enough research, and find a cure for this disease. That's why I'm proud that we, the City Council of Los Angeles, do hereby declare May 2012 to be Lupus Awareness Month in the City of Los Angeles. Further congratulate Lupus LA on its important work serving lupus sufferers and educating the public on the devastating impact of this disease. And I'd like to ask Patty to come forward to say a few words, but I'd like to present this resolution on behalf of the City of Los Angeles. Absolutely. A pleasure. Give that to Dorothy to hang on to. The microphone is yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Councilmember Garcetti, Sarah, President Wesson, and the entire City Council for allowing us to speak here today and for the proclamation. This is just what Lupus Awareness Month is about, and this allows us to do just that. First, I want to introduce my colleagues who are here with me. This is Dorothy Ellis, and Dorothy has been with the Lupus LA. She's on the board of directors since the beginning, 12 years ago. Dorothy was diagnosed with lupus 20 years ago, and she's a very successful entrepreneur. And to my right, thank you, is Elise Reyes, and Elise is our Patient Services Director, and she was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 26. And last but not least is Gabby Torres, and Gabby's our outreach coordinator, and she staffs our offices in the Pico Westlake area and Boyle Heights. So thank you all here for coming today. My remarks are going to be brief. I want to take this opportunity to just share with you what lupus is, what Lupus LA does, and what you can do to help. So in simple terms, what is lupus? Lupus develops when your body becomes allergic to itself. And so really, it's the actual opposite of what happens when someone has cancer or AIDS. And as Councilmember Garcetti mentioned, it can attack, in half of all patients, it attacks major organs, your heart, your kidneys, your lungs, your brain, one or more of those. So it's true that a lot of people haven't heard of lupus, and just to give you an idea how widespread it is, if you think of the city of Phoenix, Arizona, or if your preference is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, just picture those cities with every single person in one of those cities walking around with lupus, 1.5 million people. It's pretty mind-boggling. And of those, 90% would be women, 10% would be men and children. And of those women, the great majority would be women of color. So right now, there is no cause. They don't know what the cause is for lupus. There's no cure for lupus, and there's only a few approved treatments for symptoms. So that's where Lupus LA comes in. What do? Well, we raise money for research. Over the years, we've raised millions and millions of dollars for scientists to try and find what the cause is, to find a cure and treatments. We were founded 12 years ago by one of the leading rheumatologists and lupus doctors in the entire United States. He actually has the largest lupus practice, Dr. Daniel Wallace. And the other thing we do is we have patient services, and we have 10 support groups, as I mentioned, Pico Westlake, Boyle Heights. We have a Spanish-speaking group. We have a group for children and their families where we partner with Children's Hospital. So what we do is we provide resource, referrals, information, support, and we are also the only lupus organization that provides emergency grants to patients, because it's such a devastating illness that many of them end up losing their jobs, losing income. Their health insurance won't cover all of the medications, so we help where we can there. And how we do all this is we raise money like any other nonprofit. We have some special events. The last 3 years through the LA Marathon, which Dorothy has completed and Gabby completed, we've raised over $150,000, so thank you for that. And again, what can you do to help? You can go to our website, lupusla.org. Don't mix this up with the other lupus organizations. And you can volunteer, you can donate, you can check out our fabulous special events, and you can participate, buy tickets, and or just give us a call and we can talk to you about how you can help. So thank you so much again. We really appreciate it.
Mr. Garcetti, thank you for bringing them here today. And what I want to say to you, I really appreciate all of the work that you're doing. We need to do everything to make people aware. I was fortunate enough to have, in my other life as an assemblyman, my district director had lupus, and my chief deputy's wife today has it. So keep doing what you're doing, and thank you for coming in. It's the least we can do is to honor you.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. With that said, Mr. Clerk, I want to do something real quick. I want to vote on reconsideration of item 21. So we'll take a vote now on reconsideration. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, we will hold that or call that special for Mr. Reyes. I'm going to take one more public comment speaker at this point. Laura Smith, please come forward. Laura Smith, please come forward. Good morning.
My name's Laura Smith. I'm a board member of the Hollywood Dell Civic Association, a community of 5,000 residents just north of Franklin in the Hollywood Hills. We live immediately adjacent to the geographical boundaries of the HCP, but appear to have been ignored in this process. Many of the residents in the hillside communities north of the HCP either work in Hollywood or travel through it on a daily basis, commuting to work, school, or shopping. We know firsthand how the lack of traffic planning has increased congestion and the necessity for improvements in the dilapidated infrastructure that is currently facing Hollywood. Thank you. The current plan includes height limitations between La Brea and Cahuenga, but no height restrictions at all. He's right. In the area, between the current plan includes height limitations between La Brea and Cahuenga, but no height restrictions at all in the area between Cahuenga east to the 101 freeway and Sunset north to Franklin. As presently written, the HCP could allow projects over 1 million square feet and the building heights of 50 stories plus. This could result in a curtain of buildings obscuring not only historical projects like Capitol Records Building, but blocking views for the hillside communities looking south, and more importantly, blocking views of the iconic Hollywood sign looking north from the LA Basin. We're not saying no development, we're saying responsible development. The major issues are scale and height. Allowing unlimited height and FARs permitting 1 million plus square foot developments does not result in a world-class urban center. We're asking for the creation of a sensible threshold and a reasonable standard of height for all of Hollywood. We appreciate the height restrictions between La Brea and Cahuenga and would like to see similar limitations from Cahuenga East. Additionally, the plan has no traffic mitigation measures required to be funded or installed prior to the start of any future project development. The plan does not address infrastructure mitigations to accommodate future commercial and mixed-use developments while providing for adequate fire.
Thank you. Mr. Arnold Sachs, followed by Mr. Richard Alarcon for a presentation. Mr. Sachs, please come forward.
Mr. President, can I speak with the last speaker at the ropes over here on the side? Could you come over? I want to say hello. Thank you. Mr.
All right, thank you,
wants
Mr. Laban.
Thank you.
Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. Now, again, quite a presentation on Wednesday regarding the high-speed rail. And what's fascinating is the comments brought on by this side of the rope and the actions taken by the council, which amounted to really rubber stamping the high-speed rail. You know, people talk about we got all this proposition money coming in, but nobody talked about the route. Then the federal government said you got to spend this money in an area that shows progress. So the area that's picked is the middle of nowhere in Central California. And nobody from the second largest city, and it's nice to be talking to myself here, the second largest city stands up and says, wait a minute, we need high-speed rail in LA to go from Anaheim to Los Angeles. We need high-speed rail to go here. Instead, let's go to Cochran State Prison and we can visit, the hell's his name? Charlie Manson, fan club. Nobody says anything. And the budget, 42 billion, 92 billion, 68 billion, nobody says anything. But we had a meeting at City Council and we handled it. And again, I bring up the point about Mr. Koretz mentioned we need 100 ideas, 200 ideas at $1 million each, or that 100 ideas at $2 million each, which is a downturn from 2 years ago when he wanted 300 ideas at $1 million each. So I say, hey, you got this AB 1290 funding that you took $10 million away from it 2 years ago. Now, according to Wendy Gruhl, it's $27 million. There's $20 million right there, Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Alarcon.
Good to see you again. Thank you so much for doing this.
Please don't be shy. Come on up.
Thank you so much.
Council members, the Northeast San Fernando Valley, and in particular Sylmar, is truly blessed to have a special activity that is recognized throughout the world as unique and one of the best locations in the entire universe, actually. And that is that Sylmar is considered the world capital of hang gliding. That is because hang gliders are able to, oh, there's a hang glider right there, and it looks like a local elected official. And I hope Bill Rosendahl doesn't get jealous, but that's Joe Greblow hugging me there. If anybody would like to go hang gliding, please contact my office. I highly encourage you to do that. But we are here because a lot of people don't know that Sylmar is a hang gliding capital of the world because 300 days per year, there is perfect hang gliding weather due to the excellent condition of the wind drafts and currents unique to Sylmar. I've been flying about 5 times with Joe Greblow. I've never been able to do it solo. I don't have the time to do the training properly, but I can tell you Xavier Oslavsky has also gone up, and George Lopez went up at my encouragement. So if anybody is interested in going hang gliding, please call. It's great for politicians in particular. I think, Mitch, it's right around the corner from you. I'm sure they could get you up with nothing. You know, probably a small hang glider would even work for you. I highly encourage you to do that. It's a lot of fun, and it's an incredible feeling when you're up there in the clouds. You'll also see on the screen other hang gliders in action, the landing zone, and the new gazebo at the hang gliding site. To give you a little background on the site, it had its first hang gliders in 1969, and in 1973, the first U.S. National Hang Gliding Championships were held there. Since '83, the Sylmar Hang Gliding Association has been in charge of keeping the site operational. Amongst other things, they maintain the road, set up storage lockers for the gliders, and even do trash pickup. I can tell you the Sylmar Hang Gliding Association has also been sort of an environmental protector of the Northeast San Fernando Valley. They're involved in many activities to preserve the environment in Sylmar. Their association has also been helpful in detecting fires and alerting the LAFD. So I want to thank the Sylmar Hang Gliding Association for keeping Sylmar the world capital of hang gliding and providing Los Angeles residents such a unique and fun recreational activity. Here with us today, representing the Sylmar Hang Gliding Association are its president, Rob Burgess, its treasurer, Catherine Yardley, and the activities director, Lynn McLaughlin. The primary purpose of this presentation is to announce that the Sylmar Hang Gliding Association will be having its Spring Air Festival, which is a hang gliding competition. So those of you who do this regularly can go out and compete next Saturday, May 19th, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and all are invited to attend. I wish you the best of luck for your event, and I want to present this certificate to you as a small token of our appreciation. It simply says happiness is the Sylmar Hang Gliding Association Spring Air Festival 2012.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I think you're going to speak first.
Thank you.
Please. Thank you.
On behalf of Sylmar Hang Gliding Association, I want to thank our community for your continued support in silent soaring above Los Angeles City. We're a unique hang gliding association in that we're in a deeply urbanized area, so it is with the continued support of our community that we are provided the privilege of soaring above these mountains. I want to echo the invitation that you all please feel free to come and join us for barbecue, a guacamole contest, and community outreach on Saturday, May 19th. We would love to see you all there. Bring your families and friends. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you. How high up do the How many?
Well, the launch is at about 3,500 feet. Our pilots soar as high as 15,000 feet, depending on the conditions.
They're strapped in, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. And we have a parachute. Many of our pilots fly with radios. So we have many years of training. Anybody who's getting those kinds of altitude is an advanced pilot.
Do you have like a little baby mountain for
Yes, we
newcomers?
do. We're, Dockweiler State
15
Beach.
feet?
Our training site is in Dockweiler State Beach over by LAX, and that's run by Wind Sports. And without that community supporting that site, we wouldn't be able to grow up and fly in the mountains with red-tailed hawk and the condors that come and fly with us.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you for this honor.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon.
Thank you so much.
I do want to mention we have a pro hang glider in our midst in the CLA's office. John Whitcomb is.
Let's give Big John a round of applause. A pro hang glider.
I do believe that we should let Mr. Zine know that it is required for every citywide candidate to go hang gliding at least once before they run for office. So I think, Mr. Zine, we're anxiously awaiting your participation.
Mr. Garcetti. I'll go with Mr. Garcetti.
Oh, so you're jealous of Mr. Garcetti's relationship with Mr. Englander. Okay, Mr. Englander.
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to say thank you for bringing them, and it is a great sport, I think. I'm a true believer in gravity. And while I still believe it exists, but until I grow wings, I support everything you guys are doing and watching out for the environment from above as well. So thank you very much.
Mr. President, if I could ask the President of the Association to also give his
Yes, go right ahead. Mr. President, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Rob Burgess, been the president second year now. I've been flying since 1974, and I'm now retired, and so flying's pretty much my full-time job and taking care of the club. And I really appreciate the community support. As Lynn mentioned, we wouldn't be flying there without it. And I'm not sure what I'd do without it. It's pretty much my life. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, let's try to dispose of some of these items. Item 18, I believe that was called special.
Called special for cards, sir.
Okay, it's called special for one card. Mr. Arnold Sachs, please come forward. This is on item 18.
Yes, thank you. I held item 18 because of the language in it, and that was relative to the funding and how it would be reimbursed as needed. The funding was taken from a particular account, but the language in your item on your agenda states that it'll be reimbursed as needed, but it doesn't say that it'll be reimbursed to the account that it was taken from. The problem is that the council in general has numerous amounts of money to take money from, which is really public funding. And you would think that, that being said, they'd be more diligent, because I think there's a budget shortfall in how this money is being spent. Thank you.
No, don't go anywhere, Mr. Sachs, because we're going to go do your next item. Mr. Sachs, do you want to speak on the next item? You better be at the podium. Mr. Englander.
That pertains to my motion. It's a reimbursement from the U.S. Geological Survey, and we have a staff member who's on loan to the federal government, and it's full cost reimbursement to us, including all reimbursable costs from health care, et cetera. And so we are not out of pocket at all on this, and it's good for the city and it's good for our office to have somebody there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on this item, let's prepare to vote. So open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Sachs, we're going to do item 20.
Yes, thank you again. And I appreciate that, sir. It wasn't about not being reimbursed. It's about reimbursing the proper account. Again, this is another pocket of change for the city council to play with. District 1 street furniture revenue funds for graffiti abatement in district number 1. I know whose district that is, Mr. Reyes. Do you know whose district that is, Mr. Reyes? Again, other council members spend AB 1290 funds, and I know that that's redevelopment money, which isn't really redevelopment money. That's the money returned to the city from redevelopment. So I remember there was a meeting here that Mr. Reyes claimed he had no funding for sidewalk repair. He's got sidewalk repair, he's got graffiti abatement. I only have how much money? Well, he has street furniture, he has AB 1290. I don't know if he has pipeline money, oil pipeline money. Who knows how many different types of accounts, again I say, are available to the council members. And we do know, according to Wendy Gruhl, there's $27 million available in AB 1290 funding. So how much money is available in street furniture funding for all the council districts? How much money is available from the advertisements on bus benches for all the council districts? How much money is available in the pipeline funding for all the council districts? You're talking about $200 million in deficit for the city council. Again, Mr. Koretz says we need good ideas. Well, we need good politicians before you can implement good ideas. Thank you again.
Okay, on this item, there's no one in the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, I'm going to now return to general public comment. To wrap that up, I have two speakers, Don Ward and is it Bruce Boyer? Mr. Ward.
Hi, my name is Don Ward. I'm with the Northridge West Neighborhood Council. I wanted to point out to you guys that soon to be you're going to have to be making some more decisions on speed limit increases in Los Angeles. And I want to point out that we have a problem on our streets, and that is the speed limit increases. And we have, unfortunately, an LADOT and an LAPD that are advocating for speed limit increases rather than finding ways to keep the speed limits down. In an age where we are trying to encourage people to use other forms of transportation, especially walking, cycling, public transit, the idea that we're now increasing our speed limits to 45 miles an hour, for example, on Chandler, which is a corridor that people use for cycling. There's schools in the area, and it's not like it's any different anywhere else in Los Angeles. We should be doing what cities like the city of Burbank has done. The city of Burbank has successfully defended their 35-mile-an-hour speed limits, and that is in the climate of this 85th percentile state law that keeps being used as an excuse. So there is no excuse. We need to be encouraging drivers to calm down, because the fact is you're not going to get anywhere in this city at more than an average of 20 to 25 miles per hour anyways when you count the lights. So why are we suggesting to people that they should be going 45 miles an hour through urban and residential areas? I would ask you guys to, when you consider speed limit increases, declare a moratorium on it, and then go back to the LADOT and demand that they adopt the 10-foot lane standard. It's a California standard, and 10-foot lanes encourage
Thank you, Mr.
driving.
Ward. It's ironic, though, Mr. Ward, just Wednesday, I had a meeting about the possibility of increasing the speed on Washington Boulevard in the district that I represent. So I feel your pain, understand what you're going through, and I know I, for one, am going to do everything that I can to see that that does not occur. No, Mr. Boyer.
Good morning. I'm Bruce Boyer. I'm here with the Sons of Liberty of Los Angeles. I hail from Reseda. This, gentleman, is what a federal emergency protective order looks like. Because Judge Freeze, Ninth Circuit Court, our attorney, Mr. George Wallace, has filed to make sure that the Sons of Liberty and all citizens of Los Angeles may attend city events, exercise our freedom of speech and our freedom of assembly. We have a right to enter these events, these gun buybacks, and you do not have the authority to inform LAPD that people may not enter on foot, that people in wheelchairs may not enter, that as a condition for entering a city event, that any individual must bring a firearm and that said individuals must surrender firearms. Your gun buyback is a fraud. You want to know where the guns in the street are coming from that are illegal? I'll tell you, his name is Eric Holder, U.S. Attorney General. His operation, Fast and Fraudulent, is funneling guns illegally to the drug cartels. U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was killed with one of those illegal weapons, yet you politicians want to get up and masquerade to tell the women of this city that they're safer without a gun. No, they are not. We are going to see that those women have their guns. Come out to the gun buybacks. Absolutely, because every citizen in this city is entitled to get a free gift card. Let me make that clear. Every citizen in this city is welcome to come to this event. Everyone has a right to enter, and everyone has the right to receive a free $100 gift card. The City Council, the LAPD, may not require that any citizen provide a firearm to get a free giveaway card. These cards are free, and here is a federal protective order. That's what this gun buyback is about, gentlemen. It is about you wanting to perpetrate a fraud. And the Sons of Liberty will be out at these events to let the public know. You have a viable firearm, you want to sell it, we will direct you to a federally licensed firearms dealer who will conduct that transaction legally.
Thank you.
See you all tomorrow.
Thank you. That concludes general public comment. So, Mr. City Attorney, officially at this point, general public comment is closed. If we could now, Mr. Clerk, move to item 19. I have three cards, Dr. Williams, Arnold Sachs, and Mr. Ward.
Mr. President, before beginning with the speaker's cards, might I remind Council that a substitute motion, Labange Garcetti, has been submitted and circulated for your consideration.
Yes, you may. So if I could get those public speakers to come forward, I called three names. I'd like to see three people in line. Mr. Williams, Dr. Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council. We've had troubles with these signs. These signs really don't work very well. What I would highly recommend is combining them with a pedestrian crosswalk for the school and having these flashing signs at the crosswalk. The crosswalk is the real key, because the flashing signs, I watch people go through them. Sometimes they slow down. We have one on Monterey Road in El Sereno, and it doesn't work. It usually tells people, yeah, you're doing 40, 45 miles an hour in a 35-mile zone. Do they stop? No. But the light and or crosswalk, say in Lincoln Heights on Broadway and or 26th, they work very effectively, especially if you would put a speed flashing sign there. Now, another thing, whatever happened to the Transportation Commission? Isn't this something that should have been passed through the Transportation Commission? But do they do anything for transportation? Because there's a lot of policies that we never get access to because they go through LADOT rather than the Transportation Commission. I'd highly recommend that all subjects that come to the council be first reviewed, considered, and approved or rejected by the Board of Transportation, Commission of Transportation, such as you have for the Board of Public Works. The Department of LA DOT is uncontrolled. In fact, they have not submitted to the Caltrans MTA that MTA's alternatives for SR 710
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
are in conflict. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sachs, followed by Mr. Ward.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. Another one of my favorite topics, again, AB 1290 funds. To design and install two speed feedback signs. What are they going to design? And what's the breakdown on the cost? Are they going to design something that new to the city's arsenal of speed information signs? Is this going to be, are you doing design and build RFPs for this? No. So what portion of this money of $50,000 or $30,000 is going to be used for the design of a sign? And installation? Does that include overtime? Because normally when you break these down, you cite the account number for the installation. And let's not forget, it's just AB 1290 funds. So there was an item last week where somebody used their allocation, end up using their allocation of AB 1290 funds. How much is left in Council District 4 of their portion of AB 1290 funds? And again, we don't know about the budget crisis that the city is facing, and they certainly couldn't use that extra $20 million that's supposedly being accrued in AB 1290 funds. But even more important than the accrued amount in AB 1290 funds, from my understanding with Mr. Alarcon, that money is 20% returned to the city of the redevelopment funds that the city passes through to the state legislation. Well, what happened to the other 80% in the redevelopment funds, and why isn't that being spent?
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Ward, please come forward.
Hi, thank you. Don Ward, Northridge West Neighborhood Council. I actually like this item because it is focused on calming speeders. I'm not sure that speed feedback signs work in the long term, but anything we can do to calm the speeding problem on our streets, because right now the LAPD has lost control of the speed limit issue, and anything we can do to bring that back under control, I would encourage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Mr. Labange?
Yeah, members, first I want to introduce Keith Comrie and his lovely wife visiting. It's
Keith.
Former Keith Comrie, still Keith Comrie, but former CAO. Good job,
CAO.
Keith. All right. Today is honorary comeback CAO day in the city of Los Angeles.
Get on the item, Mr. Labange.
Real simple here. These will be placed on electroliers. They're paid for. It's supported by the people who live in the neighborhood and who are at that school. And this is a way to get it done, and I thank you for an aye vote.
Thank you. Okay, members, prepare to vote. Let us open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Parks, are you ready to move on item 8?
Mr. President, before doing so and before moving on, might I just clarify that was a substitute motion, Labange Garcetti.
Okay. Mr. Parks.
Good. Thank you very much. I would just like to thank the LAPD, particularly the two detectives, Rosa and Guzman, and also Tony Valdez from Fox 11 News, who put out the LA Most Wanted on the original reward motion that then was seen by the witness of a double homicide in the 8th District. This 14-year-old witness later identified both suspects involved in the crime and At the time of the crime, they went forward in court. The young man is now 18 years of age, went to the preliminary and the trial, and now, after these two individuals are found guilty, they will be a sentencing hearing in the future. And so just want to thank his parents and LAPD and Tony Valdez for assisting in solving this homicide.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. So, Mr. Clerk, what would be the appropriate?
We should now vote on the committee report, sir.
Okay, so let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Item 9, Ms. Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This is a reward motion payout. This rarely happens, and I want to thank the people involved in this. August 13, 2008, I entered a motion asking for a $50,000 reward for the arrest and conviction of suspects in the murder of Miss Shekinah Watson. Miss Shekinah Watson was shot and killed at 52nd and Broadway, and she exited a store. She was getting in the car on the passenger side. A white van drove by and fired several rounds from a handgun and killed her. I want to in particular thank Detective Arcienega and Detective Julio Benavides. They conducted an extensive investigation, and after the reward was offered, an individual came forward and provided crucial information that led to the identities of the suspects, Fernando and Freddie Ambris. A witness testified in both the preliminary hearing and subsequent jury trial held in Superior Court. The information provided by the witness was critical to the investigation and led to the eventual conviction of the suspects. Even though there were other eyewitnesses to the shooting, no one else was willing to come forward with information regarding the identities of the suspects. The witness identification of the suspects in open court during court proceedings led to their conviction for murder on December 13, 2001. So, in the opinion of the investigating officers and the Deputy District Attorney, these suspects would not have been convicted if it were not for the assistance of the witness. So I want to thank everyone involved, and I'm very, very grateful. And in this case, we were able to pay out a reward.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations to the LAPD and to those brave witnesses. On this item, prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Reyes, are you ready on item 21? Mr. Reyes, item 21. Mr. Alarcon, let me know when you're ready.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, I want to thank Councilman Cardenas and Councilman Perry for moving this motion to the council floor. It's a timing issue, and I want to thank our city attorney. If you'd like to come out to the table. Colleagues, we have here before you an update that allows our city attorney to give us a report to this council on the role of legal representatives as the legal representative for both the city and the DLA, and how it manages any conflict of interest and need for possible client waivers. So with that, I want to thank you, sir, for joining us. And everyone knows you, but for the record, please introduce yourself and give us that status, and be very much appreciative.
Peter Echeverria with the City Attorney's Office. We are able to represent parties, and multiple parties. Normally, we have one client, and that is the City of Los Angeles. When it came to the CRA, they are a separate legal entity, and therefore, over the years, we have represented them and provided advice to them on all their legal matters except where overflow required outside counsel. Recently, when the DLA succeeded the CRA, it became clear that the interests of the city and the DLA were not were diverging, and it became clearer at a point in time that the interests were actually becoming opposite. At that point in time, we notified the DLA that we would no longer represent them or provide legal advice to them on any matter. We have withdrawn this legal counsel to them for all purposes and gave them notice of that 2 or 3 weeks ago. Because of that notification and because of the divergence of interest on a variety of the matters in which we have been involved with them, it is also necessary for the city to acquire representation in those matters where a conflict might arise or the appearance of a conflict might arise. And we therefore have given the CAO notice of that fact and given them a list of the matters that we could identify right now as the most pressing. We are reviewing other matters that we may and likely will refer to the CAO, but the most significant matters, such as the dispute over the housing assets and the transfer of housing assets, compliance with ADA and a HUD audit and DOJ investigation, all of those matters have been referred for outside counsel. The third piece of that is the transfer back to the DLA of all of their contracts for outside counsel, which we have administered for them up until now. They need to take over the administration of those contracts. You will have a report shortly on the assignment of those contracts back to them and the transfer of the money which they had previously provided solely for the use for those contracts, transferring that money back to the DLA. You should have that soon.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes?
If I may, thank you, Council President. City Attorney Chevalier, I want to say thank you to you, sir, for your hard work. Those of us who have CRA project areas will, I think, benefit from understanding how this very complex process continues to unfold and how we assess our decisions based on information and the substance of how we make these decisions. So to that end, I'd like to instruct the CAO and the CLA to report on Tuesday, May 15th with actions necessary to hire outside counsel to facilitate this process.
Very good.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reyes. Okay, members, prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, are we ready, Mr. Alarcon? I think it's you, item 5. Oh, and if I could, yes, Pete.
Mr. President, if I may ask for a clarification, I believe that the last motion that Mr. Reyes made would be part of that action that was approved by the vote. So the report back by the CLA and the CAO is included as part of that action.
Yes, that's my understanding as well.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Garcetti, you're going to open on item 5. Oh, and Mr. Garcetti, before you open on item 5, our dog Duke has been adopted, so our 100% adoption rate is still going strong.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was from somebody who was in a later presentation, our presentation on lupus.
Oh, yeah. You know, she was...
If she got permission from her husband.
Quite taken by that dog.
We'll see. Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. President. While we're circulating the substitute motion on number 5, let me frame it for folks. I rise in support today of item number 5 here, Mr. Alarcon, in my motion on the state film tax incentive resolution. Thank you to Mr. Krikorian and Mr. Labange as well. Mr. Krikorian for your great work in this in the legislature, and Mr. Labange is a Hollywood cheerleader for joining us as well. Right now we have pending in the state legislature 2 bills, one in the Assembly and another in the Senate, 2026 in the Assembly and 1167 in the Senate, that would extend the current California State Film Tax Credit Program through the 2019-2020 fiscal year. So it's for the next 5 years. It actually would go beyond that, but it would be $100 million at that level continuing on. We had some hearings here in the committee, in our Jobs and Business Development Committee, which oversees filming issues as well, including a new study that was done, a second study analyzing the film tax credits. This one was done by the Headway Project, a new public policy group that looked at, because some people had criticized the LAEDC study, which was paid for by the industry, so this was kind of a second eyes. They concluded very similarly to the first study that was done by LAEDC that at worst this is a break even, at best it's a moneymaker for the fiscal situation in Sacramento, and of course both of them said for the economic situation, for jobs and for filming, this has been a dead bang winner. So I think we here in Los Angeles, where the overwhelming majority of our filming occurs, stand obviously in concurrence that this should expand. And what's before us is a motion that does two things. One, it says, yes, we support this bill, but it also says we would support the expansion of it. We didn't want to say we only support the expansion, because if this is all we can get, we want to be on the record making sure that we keep that, and that coalition of statewide unions and business organizations and others who have supported this, we don't want to teeter that off the edge simply by saying it should expand. But I do want to stand up very strongly. I know Mr. Krikorian has spoken on this before, Mr. Alarcon as well, and say that, you know, study after study is showing that while we don't have to be the cheapest for more people to come back, that we are running into the cap of $100 million. As we know, the day that that opens up, they disappear that day. And there are certain categories of production that are simply not in California anymore that the state really should look at expanding to in the future, specifically blockbuster films, commercial production as well that is now beginning to go elsewhere, and premium cable, which is this artificial separation right now. Basic cable but not premium cable is covered. But we are very clearly saying that the bills that are before us, we are in favor of. That coalition that has been brought together over the years, and to extend that for the next 5 years is something that we should be on the record for, while at the same time being a city that I think very strongly speaks out for how this is helping not only with jobs, with the fiscal bottom line, but something that we should be looking at expanding. The LA EDC study showed that about $1.06 for every dollar was put in was brought back, and the Headway project also said that it would be similar, encourage that we go from 100 to 200 million. We're not being specific today. We just encourage Sacramento to start thinking bigger, but at the very least to renew these tax credits today to keep Hollywood here in Hollywood. Thank you, and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, I was asked to introduce this resolution when I chaired the Jobs Committee, and the commercial producers who support this measure also wanted to see if there was a way to address their production costs. And so the resolution certainly is essentially a commendation to our colleague, Mr. Krikorian, who marshaled the tax credits through. And I have to tell you that when I was in the Senate, the leader of the Senate was adamantly opposed to these credits, and if you know Mr. Burton, you know that he was not the kind of person to keep his sentiments to himself. Oddly enough, it took a former movie star, a Republican governor, to implement the tax credit for the first time, and since it's been implemented, we now know that it works, and that's the key thing. If we're going to be giving tax credits, we've got to know that we get a return from those reductions. So the studies show that the tax credits work, it increases tax revenue, and it creates jobs. In Los Angeles, this tax credit has even greater impact given the fact that we are the heart of the industry, and they have a far-reaching impact. Film and TV commercial productions create jobs throughout the city, restaurants, dry cleaners, hardware stores. Sometimes we don't notice it because our city's so large, and these small cities when they have a production, their whole town knows it because they all feel it. So supporting AB 2026 is a no-brainer. The benefits are clear. We need to do it. But we also are encouraging the legislature to look at expanding it into other areas, as was mentioned by Mr. Garcetti. So, for example, commercials create over $5 billion in economic activity, and we do not want to be losing that business because that helps in so many different ways. Incentivizing commercials as well as other forms of productions and increasing or removing the cap will allow for even more production activity in California. If the formula works, why not expand it? So by including commercials, larger productions, additional TV productions, we're not looking to take credits away from any other productions. We're looking to expand the pie so that our city and region can receive a greater positive economic impact. So we are not directing the legislature as to how to implement an expansion, just that we are in support of it. And Mr. Krikorian knows better than any of us how difficult adding and expanding that pie it really is. So again, we want to thank Mr. Krikorian for his leadership in the legislature. I hope to follow in that line, but that's a different issue. But it's my pleasure to introduce this resolution, and hopefully the benefits will come to Los Angeles as a result.
Yeah, and Mr. Alarcon, I know full well the former Speaker Pro Tem's opinion on this issue because he killed my tax credit bill. With that said, Mr. Krikorian, good job, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to thank Mr. Alarcon and Mr. Garcetti for bringing this matter before us, and thank you both for your kind words about the previous work that I did on this this incentive program, the first California tax incentive for the film and production incentive in over 15 years of trying, that we finally succeeded in getting passed in the legislature. Colleagues, you know that there are over 40 other states who are trying to draw our good-paying entertainment jobs away with lucrative tax incentives of their own. And despite that fact, as Mr. Alarcon said, we continue to get resistance in Sacramento to this because so many of the Northern Californian legislators just don't get that this isn't about people who walk on red carpets. This isn't about people who ride in limousines. It's about people who show up for work every morning in a pickup truck. That's who gets helped by tax incentives for the film and television industry. Not people who carry briefcases, people who carry lunch buckets and strap on a tool belt. People who spend money in our communities at those dry cleaners, as Mr. Alarcon mentioned, at the restaurants and at the local grocery store. That's who gets helped when we keep these people employed here instead of sending them off to New Mexico and Michigan and Louisiana to do the job that they care about doing here. And it continues to be a problem, Mr. Alarcon. It didn't end with Mr. Burton. The Senate continues to be a problem. And Senate leadership, particularly in Northern California, continues to be a problem. So it's especially appropriate that we push forward with this. And I appreciate that we've separated the issue of new and expanded legislation, which is very important, especially to support our commercial production industry, which is so important here, from the existing legislative scheme, and that we keep that intact as well. Colleagues, I first got involved with this probably 15 years ago, and I remember walking a precinct in a kind of a rough neighborhood, neighborhood where you wouldn't expect anyone to really care about the film and television industry that much, but I was talking about this issue. And the woman that I was talking to at the door said, well, it's funny that you mention that about runaway production because I've been losing a lot of my clients lately. And I said, well, what do you do for a living? She said, I clean houses. I'm a housekeeper. And runaway production to Canada, to Michigan, was impacting this housekeeper in this neighborhood. That's the person that's going to be helped when we keep this business here. The people who work in the industry, yes. The people who received $1 billion in wages already from incentivized productions in California, they will be helped. Those grips and those carpenters and those electricians and all the others who work on these productions. But it will also help everyone in our community who will be helped by that money that gets pumped into our local economy, creating the tens of thousands of jobs that it already has and more. So I respectfully ask for your support of this measure. I want to thank Assemblymember Felipe Fuentes for moving the ball forward on this, and Senator Calderon in the Senate for continuing to work on this. It's important that we support their efforts, and I ask for your aye vote.
Okay, Mr. Koretz.
A lot of what I would say has already been said. Mr. Wesson, Mr. Alarcon, and I all worked hard for the years that we were in the legislature to get these tax credits. It was very hard to get anybody to understand, and somewhat miraculous that Mr. Krikorian was able to do this, and I again commend you for it. A friend of mine who's a movie producer and I had a conversation a few years ago, and I asked him why he was doing a production in Australia on a soundstage that was highly inconvenient for him and his family. And I said, you can control this. Why do you have to be there and disrupt your life? And he said, Well, if it was only $4 or $5 million, I would do it in Los Angeles, but it's costing $15 million, and I just can't justify it. You don't have to cover all the costs, but if you come part of the way, I would do my film in Los Angeles. And the fact is, that's the result that we're seeing. We knew this would be productive financially in 100 different ways, and we know that that's happening, and we just have to continue this battle. I mean, there are movies as intuitive as Battle Los Angeles that was not filmed in Los Angeles. I thought that was the extreme in the ridiculousness of runaway production, and we have to keep fighting to turn this around. And I commend everybody who's been involved in this issue. Let's not stop fighting for a second until we actually get a handle on this problem.
Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, want to stand and support this measure and kind of echo what my colleagues have said. As a young boy growing up in San Pedro, I'll never forget chips being filmed on 19th Street or going down to Ports of Call and meeting for the first time Tattoo at Fantasy Island. And the harbor area is known for its beautiful sights and bringing Hollywood to the harbor area we've seen often. And it's important that we continue to keep those productions here in the city. And I also have friends who work the production companies, and they've come to me with their concerns of, leaving their families 3 or 4 months at a time to go to work. So this is something that I will continue to support as long as we keep those incentives here and those tax credits here in the state in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Okay, with that said, Mr. Zine.
I wasn't going to speak, but since you mentioned chips, Eric Estrada, star of Chips, was at Commissioner Scobin's reception just a couple days ago. Still a strong member of this community. When it comes to these tax credits, as my colleagues have mentioned, it keeps people here. My next-door neighbor works in the movie industry along with his wife, and they tell me when the economy is good for them or when it's bad. And with 95,000 people coming off the unemployment because their time runs out, this is an urgent matter that we continue making this happen and keep that industry here, because if not, we know where they're going to go. And they're getting the welcome mat from every other jurisdiction, not only in California, but other places of the country. Mr. Englander, I will wrap it up with that. An aye vote. Thank you.
Okay, with that said, there are no speakers in the queue. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And Mr. President, that was the committee report being adopted with substitute resolution 5A.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, what's still on the agenda?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
Consider them posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Labange and Councilmember Reyes request to be excused on July 3, and Councilmember Englander requests to be excused on November 5.
Without objection. Mr. Alarcon. Forthwith on 5?
Item 5, yes. Mr. President, the desk is clear.
Okay. Announcements, members. Announcements, members. Then I'll make a quick one to remind each member any suggestions or ideas that you have where it relates to the budget, ways to generate additional money or reduce costs. Please submit those ideas to Council Member Krikorian and the CAO's office. Mr. Krikorian.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. President. We take all ideas. We take all comers. Bring them over. I'm happy to consider them. Mr. President, I just wanted to acknowledge the tremendous work last night of both the Los Angeles Police Department and the Department of Transportation. As we all know, President Obama was here, came into Studio City, into a residential neighborhood in Council District 2, and by all accounts, the problems that we've had in previous presidential visits were largely avoided by some very smooth organization, as well as the cooperation of the people of Studio City, I might add. But it seemed to have gone very well, and I just wanted to thank those departments and the people of my district for their patience in seeing that through.
Mr. Reyes.
Take a moment to wish all the moms there happy Mother's Day that's coming this weekend. Yesterday in Mexico and Central America and in the Western Hemisphere was Mother's Day for the folks who are in all of these countries that are the motherlands of many of our immigrant communities here in Los Angeles. So I wish them a happy Mother's Day for yesterday as well. Thank you.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tomorrow, 10:30, actually from 9 till 3, the 9th annual George Barris is in the city of Los Angeles. He made the Batmobile and other wonderful vehicles. They have a car show. Public's invited, 9 to 3 on Culver in Washington. It's in Culver City, but George Barris is an LA City enterprise. We want to invite the public to that. Again, that's tomorrow, 9 to 3 in Culver and Washington. George Barris, the big car show. And like Mr. Reyes, I'd like to wish all the moms a very, very happy Mother's Day. And Sunday, which is Mother's Day, the biggest Mother's Day celebration will take place at the Jewish Home for the Aging. And all the mothers at the home will have the relatives come by and visit. So we wish all moms a very, very happy Mother's Day.
Mr. Bruscaino.
Thank you. I too, colleagues, thank you, Mr. Reyes, for bringing that up. Want to wish my mother, Rosa, I love her dearly, happy Mother's Day, my mother-in-law as well as the children, my children's mom as well. Tomorrow is Fire Recognition Service Day, as I see Pat McCosker. Please join me at 10 o'clock at Fire Station 49, the Wilmington Fireboat, and at 11 o'clock at Fire Station 68 in Watts. We'll be celebrating the fine work the men and women of the fire department do tomorrow. So I also want to thank them for their continued service, their passion to serve, and their commitment to this great city.
I'd now like to ask all of the individuals in the chambers to please rise. Everyone rise for adjourning motions. Everyone rise. Members, Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'd like to ask that we adjourn today in memory of John Glass, who passed away earlier this week. Many of us knew John and his wife Judy, who were active in Jewish, Democratic Party, San Fernando Valley, and social justice causes. In fact, John was active in just about everything. In 2004, the LA Times wrote a piece on active retirement, and John was one of the persons profiled. The LA Times had this to say: John Glass, 68, a longtime local activist with his wife Judy, 67, says, while they marched in the Vietnam War protests in the 60s, political mobilization has been a full-time activity for us since we retired. The Glasses have taken part in vigils against the war in Iraq, worked for health care reform, and opposed the San Fernando Valley secession effort, among many other things. We were young adults during the McCarthy era, John Glass said, and that really set the tone for a need to be vigilant about what the government is doing. John continued marching and protesting and working to change the world right until his death. May he rest in peace, and may John's commitment to social change continue to inspire us.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Mr. Koretz for acknowledging the incredible life of John Glass. John was my neighbor and my constituent, somebody that I, like many of us, have known and worked with for many, many years. And I think Mr. Koretz summed up well his inspiring life of advocacy. And as he was in his what would be his final illness, I think it really kind of summed up his whole life, that just a week or so ago, Judy and John had a coffee in their home for a candidate who I care about very much. And rather than, although John was in the hospital, they wouldn't cancel the coffee because that's the kind of life he lived. It was a life of activism, a life of making change, a life of making a difference. And in just about every cause, progressive cause, certainly in this part of the San Fernando Valley, John and Judy have both been central parts to moving forward in a progressive way. And will be the worse for his loss, but we're the better for his life.
Thank you. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Michael James Jacobs passed away April 21st, born August 5th, 1946 in Glendale, California, to Vern Pratt Jacobs and Donna Marie Palmer, oldest of three sons. For most of his 65 years, lived in the San Fernando Valley, attended local schools including Cohasset Street Elementary School, Birmingham Junior High School, graduated from Birmingham Senior High School in summer of 1964. Typical Valley kid during the late 50s and early 60s, paperboy for then the Valley Green Sheet, collected soda bottles for recycling long before recycling became the in thing, 2 cents for a small bottle, 5 cents for a big bottle, participated in the Cub Scouts, spent time building model cars, which led to his lifelong love affair for all things automotive. In the early 60s, especially enjoyed participating in Cruise Night every Wednesday night on Van Nuys Boulevard, first in his 58 Chevy, later in his brand new 65 Chevy Malibu. After a brief stint, the United States Air Force returned to the San Fernando Valley, began his career with the City of Los Angeles as a civilian for the Los Angeles Police Department. During the course of his 32-year career with the city, worked for a variety of departments, including the airport and Department of General Services. During the last few years of city employment, was elected as a shop steward at the North Hollywood Shop Fleet Services Division as a member of SEIU Local 347. Was pleased to represent his co-workers, was relentless in his responsibilities as a shop steward to protect the rights of his co-workers, most times to the annoyance of management. Retired in 1997 as a heavy-duty mechanic from the General Services Department, Fleet Service Division at the North Hollywood Shop. Spent his early retirement years traveling across the United States as a truck driver. Thoroughly enjoyed the freedom of the open highway. He moved to a small rural town in the state of Kansas for a brief time, then returned home to the San Fernando Valley in 2005. At the age of 65, he lost a 6-year courageous battle with kidney failure, diabetes, and its complications, preceded in death by his father, Vern Jacobs, and his stepfather, Joel Dennis. A man of many names: Jimmy, Jim, James, Mike, Michael, Big Mike, Mike Sr., Big Mo, and the great Kahuna. And yes, there is a story behind each name, too many to mention here. Loved by many, and he will be truly missed. Survived by his children, Michael Jacobs, daughter Julie Ratner, son-in-law David Ratner, 3 grandchildren, and many other loved ones. May he rest in peace. A former employee with the Los Angeles City, that is Michael James Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Any more adjourning? Members, today's council session is adjourned.